I have unfinished business with this game. Developed by Toys for Bob, which was acquired by Activision towards the end of its development, and ported to PC by Beanox, which was also acquired by Activision towards the end of its development, and published by Activision, Madagascar is a decent enough game. I was given a definitely not pirated copy of the game as a kid, which I played on the family PC, then got stuck on the platforming and never finished. I have now returned to it, years later, to see it through to the end. First of all, blatant nostalgia. It was mediocre as a child, but goddamn if I don't have some sort of nostalgia for the junk I played back then. Past nostalgia, we have extremely mediocre controls. The camera movements with the mouse just feel bad. I cannot decide whether they're too sensitive or not responsive enough. I had my sensitivity up, as I usually do while gaming, but it still somehow felt like it was just ignoring my mouse movement at points. I don't get it, but I would probably chalk it up to being a side effect of being a PC port of a console game, so not really designed for mouse controls. The icons for the input buttons on screen tell you very little about what you're actually meant to press, and I forgot what was bound to what immediately after clicking off the settings menu, so operated largely by trial and error. My main issue with this game on a technical level, however, is not the controls, but rather the fact that it does not lock your cursor to the window, meaning that if, like me, you have a second monitor, the game will tab out when you click, which poses an issue, as mouse 1 and mouse 2 are the default attack and interact buttons respectively. I wound up unplugging my second monitor for a time to stop it from happening. Complaining aside, you're clearly here for the Madagascar lore, and you're in luck. The first level gets you introduced to the mechanics of its 4 main characters that you'll be switching between for the rest of the game, each with different abilities that you unlock more of throughout the game, and the penguins, I guess, via mini-games and a small amount of exploration. Hidden off the beaten path, you can find an arcade machine with a tank-based defense game, which is simple, but a neat Easter egg, and something that I don't really recall from my time playing it as a kid. It adds a lot more to the game and endears me to it somewhat, since there's some clear love put into it, despite however little time they may have been able to dedicate to polishing it up. After that first level, I went to see what extras are available, since I want to get the most I can out of this game, and checked out the golf mini-game. It's okay, but it becomes painful easily, as you cannot, to my knowledge, move the camera, leaving you stuck with awful camera angles that fail to show you where you're aiming, or in many cases, even where your ball is sitting. Apparently you can do multiplayer with this, which is neat, I guess. I'm hardly about to invite my friends over to play it, but I can imagine it'd be nice for a kid to play with friends after school, or rope their parents into. Continuing the story, the attack lock on as Marty is terrible. I kept seeming to get the wrong angle, missing a kick, and getting caught by the guards the game wants you to attack, in order to sneak out of the zoo. I got the hang of it eventually, and the level is overall pretty okay. It concludes with a puzzle boss fight against the zoo's hunter, who, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't appear in the movie. It's pretty satisfying to kick trash cans and trolleys at guards, so I'll give the game that, even if it is very prescriptive of what you're meant to do at any given point. This level too has an arcade game tucked away, and wow, this is more secrets than I remembered as a kid. I like that. I'm always a sucker for optional secret areas in games, indulging my desire to check every nook and cranny. Returning to continue my play for another day, I installed software to lock my cursor to one window, which mostly worked. The game still tabbed out, but not nearly as much as would prompt me to unplug my second monitor again. This third level has the next, and to my knowledge, last, arcade minigame of the game, which is, like the other two, basic but has some charm to it. This level was where I recognised just how much these characters will not shut up. They just repeat the same voice lines over and over again, and break the fourth wall to chastise me for not moving when I stop to take notes. This game really likes switching up its mechanics on the regular, in large part in my opinion to compensate for the mediocre nature of much of its gameplay, which would likely not hold a child's attention for long on its own. Or quite frankly, anyone's attention. Alongside the standard movement as Alex, Gloria's section has a Frogger section. And Melman's is near enough purely platforming, with this new helicopter hover mechanic, which I, while playing, got annoyed with because I, for some reason, didn't realise that you could just hold down the button to keep hovering and didn't have to mash it. That's entirely on me, so I'm giving this an okay rating. Lore-wise, the gang definitely killed a lot of people here, so I think that's something that wasn't included in the movie. It's been a while since I watched it. Who knows? In the final cutscene, the devs didn't waste time and money getting the rights to use a Candyman to be fully accurate, so can't blame them. The Penguins get their own dedicated level where they kill a bunch of people. This is, in my opinion, canon. The stealth caused me trouble as a kid, but it's not that bad now I actually know how to play video games. Please ignore that I got caught multiple times in this children's game's stealth section. This level concludes with a boss fight of sorts against all remaining crew and the hunter from the second level. Oh well, he's dead now. He will not show up for the rest of the game. So far, the levels are pretty evenly paced. Each of them took me around 30 minutes of recording. Returning to the minigames, I tried the shuffleboard, only to discover that it's multiplayer only, so I can't give much insight into that one. I'm not sure many kids thought to themselves, oh boy, I sure can't wait to invite my friends around to play the Madagascar shuffleboard minigame. But it's there. Washing up on the titular island of Madagascar, Alex goes on a quest to find his friends, doing some fetch questing along the way. I fell out the map once, so that's fun, I guess. This level introduces a mango throwing mechanic for Alex's combat, which is bound to the same button as Marty's crawl, and the super roar, an improved attack triggered by a power-up item. The last unlockable minigame, Lemur Rave, is pretty solid. Can't give a proper review of how good it is as a rhythm game since my experience with them is nearly all in Club Penguin. I may notice that King Julian looks really dead-eyed, which we see in the next level. I dislike the platforming in this level. It just feels awkward to me. That's the first part of the level, which is then followed by having to save lemurs from Wind and Fossa, where some of them are explicitly eaten by the Fossa, which is sad and all, but we stay silly and have a banquet. This level's honestly a pretty fun collectathon bit, with character switching to use a different character's abilities to minigames and platforming. It's also the level where I got stuck as a kid. All because of this one jump. Oh, okay, so it's not actually that hard now. Took me a few tries, but I can see why I struggled with it as a kid. Before moving on to the next level, I bought all of the apparel items for core 4 characters, which I think is a net improvement. There's some more shooting mechanics, which remind me of similar sections Toys for Bob would later include in the Skylanders. Malman's model often blocks the target you're aiming at, leaving you to guess while shooting, but other than that, it's pretty solid. As a side note, this sound effect is so bad. It's good, it was so jarring. Back to the plot, Alex has gone insane. I think I am too. The amount of different voice lines for failure suggests that the devs expected players to die here at least a few times. Alex feels bizarre, running around like a security breach enemy. His pathfinding seems a bit odd, but in this situation, being scripted is to its benefit, meaning that he doesn't properly bug out or lose you. After escaping Alex, the remaining 3 protagonists find their way to another collectathon level, similar to Jungle Banquet. One of the collectible items requires that you do a boss fight arena with a stoned crocodile, where you just have to run away until the opponent takes a breather. A few require you to interact with NPCs in order to do a minigame or action section for that item, which I didn't realise at first and just assumed I was really bad at platforming when trying to get to an item that was out in the open, that you can only actually get via an NPC. This Warthog NPC insists that you play as Gloria to help him, despite the fact that she's very clearly not into him. But she does get the last laugh by getting Melman to kiss a guy with a kiss so vile, the devs just had to put a censored screen, instead of subjecting the poor innocent children playing the game to a sloppy snog, or more likely, they didn't want to spend time and money to animate the characters kissing and made it into a joke. It's unnecessary, but at least it isn't overtly homophobic, and instead just makes a joke of Warthog gross, so cool. We're in the home stretch now, with Marty going to save Alex in a frantic section at the start, and then we're onto a fucking horrible fruit collecting minigame, which ruins the pacing as extremely annoying and punches you into hazards that you could not see when starting a jump, and it took so many attempts to beat. I hate it. There's then some more platforming and a slide section, which is pretty fun. And then a second slide section, which would be harder and, in my opinion, better, if it weren't so forgiving, letting you win even if you screw up repeatedly. This level, on the whole, feels like the devs didn't really know what to do to fill it out, so they just kind of added miscellaneous minigames and short platforming sections. It's by far the shortest, and in my opinion, weakest level of the game. The final boss battle reminds me of a Spyro boss, and consists of multiple stages. The boss wasn't too difficult, with how many health pickups there are, and just requires some patience, as, like the previous Crocodile Arena fight, the boss is only vulnerable after finishing his attacks, or after you use a super roll. It's a pretty decent conclusion, and were I a child, I would have probably felt accomplished if I'd beaten it. Pity I didn't back then, but oh well, wouldn't have revisited it if I had. The game finishes on a cutscene before going to credits, where we find out that the warthog who's been hitting on Gloria is called Quigley? Okay? It's definitely not the worst game I've played by a long shot. It was a decent introduction to the platformer genre for me as a kid, and it doesn't outstay its welcome, taking me around 5 hours to beat. It has a lot of issues, but I can't say I hate it. I'd give a rating of it's alright, especially for kids. You kinda know what you're getting into when you pick up a movie tie-in game, and with that in mind, it can be pretty fun, just curb your expectations. It's not a masterpiece. My major gripe, the elephant in the room, is the lacking graphical quality. As you probably saw throughout the video, this game looks bad, even for a 2005 game, but to its credit, it runs on less powerful computers decently. I don't actually remember having much trouble running it on my childhood PC, so that's something. It does still look crap, but you know. Thanks for watching if you're still here. Like this video if you liked it, comment to let me know your thoughts or opinion. Did you play this game as a kid too? Or just to help me with the YouTube algorithm? And subscribe if you want to see more videos I upload in the future. I swear I'll review some games I properly like in the future. There's a new DLC for Dredge on the horizon, which I'll either cover here or on my TikTok, depending on how much I have to say about it. See you around, and have a nice whatever time of day you're watching this.